Good morning, good evening, good night, wherever you are, and I hope you are well. Today is a huge news day, and it is not a good day. First, 30 seconds of motivational music to keep your mind positive. Remember, constant stress puts your body in survival mode. Its main concern is short term, therefore it neglects longevity and is hazardous to your immune system, amongst other things. So stay positive. We'll get through this as we always have. The Senate is meeting to discuss yet another bill similar to the Patriot Act that allows the unconstitutional monitoring of all Americans. This insane bill is about domestic terrorists, and that's not a hard label to get if you know how the FBI decides if you fit in that category. Don't speak out against the jab, you terrorist. Don't speak out against the school board, you terrorist. Kevin McCarthy is being overthrown for Speaker of the House. George Santos is under investigation for irregularities in financial disclosures and loans for his campaign, and if found guilty, a special election will be held. The House has found collaboration between the FDA and drug maker Biogen. Funny, this weekend, I'm releasing a report I've been working on that covers the relationship between the FDA and Big Pharma. Putin invited Xi to Moscow as China and Russia are making their no-limit alliance official after the first of the year. I called it, I said it, I gave a lecture I posted here on YouTube. I'll try to remember to put the link in the description. Russia is increasing its ship production, commissioning 3 in one day. They continue their attacks on Ukraine's critical infrastructure ahead of what could be a major winter offensive. Taiwan is asking Japan for a security treaty. Remember, Japan is a major ally, and we have military bases all over, including the Marine Corps base in Okinawa. Looks like we keep edging toward a new world war, also covered in my lecture. China is seeking closer relations with Australia. I say, China owns an airport, a massive solar field, millions of acres of land, and the port of Darwin where our naval ships dock. I've been there. This is what they do. They buy up or build infrastructure and use it to levy power. They tried it in Texas and Abbott shot them down. Australia is folding, as you're about to see. Taiwan is beginning mass production of computer chips, keeping the best tight to the chest, as South Korea's Samsung has a response. All right, here we go. The Senate is meeting in a pro forma session. H.R. 350, Domestic Terrorist Prevention Act of 2022. The bill gives the Department of Homeland Security, the Department of Justice, and the FBI authority to monitor, investigate, and prosecute domestic terrorism. It would also create an interagency task force to combat white supremacists and neo-Nazi incursions in the military and federal agencies. Rep. Kevin McCarthy faces strong opposition to his candidacy for House Speaker, as Republicans are expected to retain a majority in January. 5 House Republicans have voiced their opposition to McCarthy, the most ardent opponent being Representative Matt Gaetz, who said he would not change his mind about McCarthy. With a slight Republican majority, McCarthy can only afford to lose 4 votes in his party in the January 3rd vote for Speaker of the House. The election for Speaker of the House has only gone to multiple ballots since the Civil War in 1923. Federal prosecutors for the Eastern District of New York have launched an investigation into Congressman George Santos. They plan to investigate any discrepancies in the financial disclosures and credits he made in his campaign. Santos is facing bipartisan calls to resign after reports from the New York Times and other media outlets expose false allegations about his career. House Democrats vowed to retake the House of Representatives in 2024, and Republicans fear losing a seat in special election. A joint investigation released by the House Energy, Commerce, and Oversight Reform Committee has uncovered an unusual partnership between the Food and Drug Administration and pharmaceutical company Biogen. These reports cite undocumented interactions between FDA and Biogen and the preparation of unusual documents for key advisory committees as atypical and riddled with fraud. A 2006 study published in the Journal of American Medical Association found that financial conflicts of interest are common on FDA advisory boards. Other previous FDA-approved drugs, such as the diabetes drug triglyceride, which was later withdrawn by the FDA due to deaths from liver failure, were approved in votes containing serious conflicts of interest. Don't get me started on the Sacklers, Purdue Pharma, and the 500,000 opioid deaths from OxyContin they got away with. Again, covered in the report I will be releasing this weekend. Chinese President Xi and Russia President Vladimir Putin held a virtual meeting on Friday to discuss a borderless strategic alliance. Xi urged Russia to coordinate and cooperate closely with China on international affairs and support Russia's willingness to negotiate a peace deal in Ukraine. Russian television reports that Putin and Xi also discussed efforts to strengthen military cooperation between the two countries. Putin and Xi said, China is ready to cooperate with Russia and all progressive forces around the world, which oppose dominion and power politics, in order to protect the sovereignty, security, and development interests of both countries and the international community. We will defend justice resolutely, he said. They are united to oppose what they both see as the supremacy of the U.S.-led Western powers. Xi specifically referred to Washington's penchant for containment, repression, sanction, and interference. At the commissioning ceremony of 3 new naval ships yesterday, Russian President Vladimir Putin said Russia is increasing the speed and volume of ship production. Putin also said Russia's sailors would be trained by veterans of the special military operation. The new ships include ballistic submarine, a minesweeper, and another corvette. Russia has yet again attacked critical infrastructure in Ukraine on Thursday, damaging power plants and water supply facilities in 10 regions. According to Ukrainian officials, Russians fired 69 missiles and sent dozens of drones filled with explosives during the attack. 2 people were killed and 7 were injured. Local city officials are urging residents to stock up on water and charge their electronic devices while they still have electricity. Russian forces shaped the battlefield ahead of what could be a major winter offensive after the new year. Moscow may hope that power outages and water shortages combined with harsh winter conditions in the region will weaken Ukraine's resolve. Japanese media reported that Ting, representative of TPA, Economic and Cultural Representative Office in Japan, is urging Japan to form bilateral security cooperation with Taiwan. Shea is said that there is no guarantee China would not attack Japan before a move towards Taiwan because of many U.S. bases on the island. Last week, the foreign minister of China and Australia met to monitor recent trade and diplomatic relations discussed on the sidelines of the G20 summit. Chinese state media reiterated Beijing's position that the two countries should focus on economic ties and Australia should not repeat Washington's war rhetoric. According to Japanese media, Australian Trade Minister Don Farrell has proposed lifting tariffs on Chinese goods on the basis of goodwill on both sides. China is taking advantage of the new Australian Labor Party government to ensure that another fighter jet will never come to Taiwan's aid. According to China Aerospace Science and Technology Corporation, CASC, China carried out its second Shiyin-10 satellite launch on Wednesday using a Long March 3B rocket from Xichang Satellite Launch Center. The launch was the 64th rocket launch this year. Shiyin-10 was observed after launching into an elliptical orbit at an altitude of 38,881 kilometers. Shiyin-10 is considered to be a classified surveillance satellite. It will likely join the first Shiyin-10 orbiter launcher in late September to cover the northern hemisphere. Both satellites will likely perform remote sensing, early warning missile launches, weather observation, and, of course, intelligence collection. Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Corporation, TSMC, on Thursday announced that it has begun mass production of 3-nanometer chips as its factory in southern Taiwan. TSMC president said his company will continue to diversify locations in the United States for 3-nanometer chip productions in the future, but will maintain the 2-nanometer chip production to facilities in Taiwan. TSMC has 90% of the 3-nanometer chip market, although South Korea's Samsung is likely to announce its own 3-nanometer production in the coming months. Some Western countries have expressed concerns that TSMC's high-end manufacturing facilities are vulnerable to Chinese attacks. TSMC officials appear to have kept the 2-nanometer production line in Taiwan as a message. Their production will not be eliminated from the island and will remain a global export pearl of Taiwan's economy. Well, that's it for Friday News. Enjoy your weekend. Watch for the report I'm releasing, and I will see you next year.